Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Sunday, January 7th edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name's Keaton Weiss. Russell's got to unmute his microphone there. I sent you a text message, but Russell was distracted. There he is. Russell Dobler, everybody.
And don't worry, the Jimmy show is going to go very smoothly.
Beautiful. 684 here in the YouTube chat to start the show now up to 704. 441 strong over on Rumble. That's beautiful. Thank you all very much for being here. I guess during our countdown, Russell's replacement microphone arrived in the mail. So this will be our last show with Russell's makeshift microphone. The microphone, the webcam, and the singing bowl fell victim to whatever portal you pass through on the way out here. And so for that reason, we are working with Russell's limited technology, but there is the new singing bowl. We replaced everything.
Now there's like a travel singing bowl.
There you go. Well, that's going to have to be the actual singing bowl. I mean, the first one you'll keep, that has sentimental value. It just doesn't sing anymore.
It doesn't sing anymore. It lost its joy to vivre.
That's right. It lost its joy to vivre. Russell out there in sunny Los Angeles. Russ will be sitting in formally for Jimmy Dore tomorrow. That show's at 6 p.m. Eastern. Russ will be hosting that show. I'll be co-hosting remotely from upstate New York, where we got about 6 or 7 inches of snow today. It is winter here in New York and sunny out there
New York
in
City,
California.
man.
I know.
Not New York City. Yeah, no, they got like nothing. I was reading about it.
I know some people in Jersey got a decent amount. Hudson Valley got a decent amount. They got quite a bit, actually. But up here, yeah, we got hit fairly hard. But it was fun. We didn't really have any big snowfalls last year. So, kids had a good time in the snow. And so that was a fun time. But, yeah, it is wintry up here right now. And as you can see, not wintry out there. You get a lovely view of Jimmy's backyard.
It is windy as fuck, though. I thought it was raining because of, like, all the leaves just hitting everything. It sounded like rain.
Huh.
That's it's the Santa Ana winds.
Yeah, interesting.
That time of year. Yeah, I've never been here this time of year.
Yeah, I don't think I think I went to LA once in maybe like February, March. I don't think I've ever been in January though. But yeah,
I'll tell you, it's been pretty fucking cold. It's pretty cold, like especially for Los Angeles. It's been like the 40s with heavy winds. Like going up in the daytime into the 50s, low 60s.
That is pretty chilly. Yeah, for LA, that's very cold. Very cold. I remember it being, 70 to 75 and sunny all the time, all day, every day. So yeah, 40s is definitely cool.
No, yeah, Jimmy was saying last year they got like 2 weeks it's in the 80s. That's normal for this time of year. But no, it's winter. It's definitely winter. We went with CJ with Jimmy to a comedy show where he was doing a set last night. That was pretty cool. Got to meet CJ the first time in person. And I'm going to let you all in on a secret. He is not much taller than I am.
Oh, wow.
Keaton gives the impression of being shorter than he is, and CJ gives the impression of being taller than he is.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people do people think I'm short? Is that the impression I give off? Short?
I was surprised the first time we met in person.
Right. Okay.
Like, not short, but you don't give the impression of being as tall as you are.
All right. Well, that's
Like,
good
you're a very tall man.
That is good to know. Good to know. Tall is always good.
How tall are you again? How tall are you?
Like 6'1".
Yeah. So Keaton's pretty tall. You wouldn't expect it. No, CJ is just like maybe a little taller than me. He's a pretty small dude. Oh,
interesting. Interesting. I'm sure he appreciates you revealing that.
What, they're going to find him now?
Folks,
no, it was a good time, though. It was a good time. They were watching some comedy.
Yeah. No,
Jimmy went up. Okay, it was interesting because I haven't seen a comedy show in a very long time. And mostly, most comedians are just going up there and doing the you ever notice when thing. Not exactly that formulation, but basically it's the jokes about domestic life, jokes about shopping and stores that people are familiar with. The topical comics are really rare. They really are. So Jimmy goes up there and does Ukraine and the totally safe and effective vax. But where you can see things are changing? Because I was very curious. I've only seen Jimmy perform for his audience, for people who came to see him. And because LA and New York are the shit-lib homeworlds, I was very curious. How is this audience going to take that material, particularly about the vaccine? We've turned a corner, man, because they were with him. They were with him. They weren't sitting here. I think if you did that bit for that crowd even a year ago, I think you would have gotten a different reaction.
Yeah, could be changing times. Could be changing times for sure. Changing times on the Jimmy Dore Show for at least the next couple of weeks. Russell's going to be sitting in tomorrow, so we hope you guys all tune in.
We have a great show planned. Yeah. Extra Bulla has been helping us out with a top secret special mission segment we're working on. That'll either be on tomorrow or Wednesday.
Yeah,
right,
we got
Wednesday
a lot of shows
at this
this
point.
week.
Yeah.
A lot of shows this week. So we are working the Jimmy Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which means our show's moving to Tuesday, Thursday. So we will be on Tuesday night at 8 p.m., it looks like. And then we will do a Thursday afternoon show. I'm going to have to work out the time with you exactly because I can't do Thursday morning. But we can do it in the afternoon. So it'll be a Thursday matinee.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about that, my friend. I mean, I don't have to get up at 6.
Yeah, you won't have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. Exactly. So we're on Tuesday, Thursday this week, and then Russ hosting the Jimmy Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We do have our post-show Q&A tonight exclusively on Rumble, where Patreon members, paid Substack subscribers, and paid Locals members have call-in access. Everybody else is welcome to watch. That'll be over on Rumble. We are doing one segment of the show as a Rumble exclusive as well, so we will be switching over to Rumble for both the final segment of the show and then the post-show question and answer. So, with all that being said, why don't we start the insanity for tonight? 2024 is a new year. It's a new campaign. Donald Trump was considered the retrograde, white nationalist, white nativist racist of the 2016 campaign. But of course, Nikki Haley gave him a run for his money in that department by refusing to name slavery as a reason for the Civil War when she was famously asked about that just about a week and a half ago. So Trump finally got to put the shoe on the other foot. Remember 2016 where all the other candidates were making fun of him for what a racist he was? Well, here's Donald Trump talking about Nikki Haley's failure to mention slavery as a reason for the Civil War.
I asked her about the Civil War. Why did it start? How did it start? She didn't use the word slavery, which was interesting. I don't know that it's going to have an impact, but, I'd say slavery is sort of the obvious answer. It's supposed to about 3 paragraphs of bullshit. She just talked. Nobody knew what she was saying.
Say that one more time.
You just cannot compete with that.
No, I want to play that last part one more time.
Slavery is sort of the obvious answer. It's supposed to about 3 paragraphs of bullshit. She just talked. Nobody knew what she was saying.
know? And okay, so not only, yeah, I mean, you're right. You can't compete with that. The showmanship, the delivery, the comic timing, you're just unmatchable, right? I mean, you just can't touch that. DeSantis can't touch that. Haley can't touch that. Nobody can touch that.
And,
Chris Christie can't touch that.
as a New Yorker, I've always said this. Donald Trump sounds like a guy at the corner of the bar. So
Right.
I particularly appreciate that side of his appeal because that's very New York. Yeah, you know, she could have gotten to the slavery a little sooner instead of 3 paragraphs of bullshit. You know what I'm talking about?
3 paragraphs of bullshit. And by bullshit, the other part of this is what he means by bullshit is like the narrative that Haley was trying to spin in order to placate, ironically, like
His
what's
base.
considered the hardcore MAGA base, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, that just shows you Trump is really his own man. He really calls the shots. He trusts that his base will follow him on a lot of these issues, right? Because Haley didn't want to cross the MAGA base by admitting it was about slavery because, ooh, what about all the Confederate flag
Right.
people who consider this a war of northern aggression and expansion? And what about the people who make a legitimate states' rights argument on behalf of the South? They think that's a really legitimate argument. I can't cross them. He's like, yeah, that's 3 paragraphs of bullshit. Like, he just sums that up as bullshit when it was really about slavery in his eyes. So it also shows just his willingness to lead and trust his base to follow him. Because the exact reason she made that horrible gaffe was that she was afraid to cross what was perceived to be the diehard, hard right MAGA base. And then here he is, just, that's what a bunch of bullshit. Just said, you should have just said slavery.
Well, and it also shows what a fiction that construction is, because as many pointed out, the media covered for her. I think Greenwald did a segment about that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so did we.
The media treated her completely differently from the way they would treat. Can you imagine if Trump had that gaffe and gone off about states' rights, essentially, when asked a question like that? With Nikki Haley, they covered for her. So it just really illustrates to you, it's a microcosm of the narrative that Donald Trump is the racist relative to the author of mass incarceration, collaborator with segregationists, who went into the 2020 election cycle speaking very fondly of his work with segregationists. But Trump is the racist next to that guy. It's all a fiction. It's all, as our illustrious former president would say, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, our former and future president, absent any deep state intervention.
The once and future king.
Right, the once and future king, Donald Trump, saying it like it is, plain spoken Donald Trump. One more time. Let's just hear that.
It's supposed to about 3 paragraphs of bullshit. She just talked. Nobody knew what she was saying.
Nobody knew what she was talking about.
You know, we should clip it for the soundboard, actually.
Yeah, that would actually be good. That would
cat
actually be
was
good.
named Vagina.
Could have just said that. As opposed to, 3 paragraphs of bullshit. No one knew what she was talking about. Beautiful, beautiful work there by the once and future king. Rumor has it, and by rumor has it, I mean Jake says it, that we are crossed 666 on Rumble. 666
Damn,
Rumble viewers.
yo.
So let's hit that for our Rumble viewers. Here we go. So 1303 in YouTube, over 666. Jake says now 800 in the Rumble chat. How do you like that? Beautiful.
Damn, yo.
Beautiful. Jake is here tonight. Round of applause for our producer, Jake. He will be taking Rumble rants. And we got YouTube super chats. We're going to take a few of these right now. Ruthless Criticism, thank you for the $5. On this, the day after the anniversary of the darkest day in U.S. history, yes, I have but one question for Zionist neolibs. How many October 7th was January 6th? Yeah, good question. We will get to that, and we're going to do more. Oh, so that brings up a good point. So what we're going to do, folks, Russell and I have our shows to do this week. Russell's also got the Jimmy Dore show to do this week. I'm going to be co-hosting
Well, so do you, motherfucker.
with him.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yes. Russell's like prepping the segments and stuff like that, since he's the one getting paid for the show, not me. So he's doing some of the legwork there. But
I'm gonna throw you some cash, man.
No, I don't want. I'm busting balls. I'm doing shtick here. Okay, don't give me any money, obviously.
But I was gonna give you money.
I'm joking. I'm joking around. I mean, if you want, you can. But
I was it was gonna be like Hanukkah geld.
It's gonna be like Hanukkah. Yeah. No, I'm just messing with you. But no, we are doing 3 on Jimmy's show, and then we're doing 3 here. We're gonna try. I mean, obviously, if something huge happens, we have to cover it both places. But we're gonna try to mix it up where we cover different stuff here on the main than we do on Jimmy's show. So, for example, tonight we're covering Biden's speech here, but we're covering a different aspect of it than we're going to be covering tomorrow. We're going to focus more on the January 6th material tomorrow. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different with that speech. So we're going to try our best not to repeat the same material on both shows. Obviously,
I mean, frankly, there are enough things that we want to do every week that we can't do because we're not going to do a 6-hour show. That I don't think it's really going to be a problem. Because as I started to put together the content for tomorrow, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's fine. I'm excited about every story I'm putting together. And that happened last week, too, even when we didn't have control over that. When Malcolm sent out, that's Jimmy's producer, when he sent out the list of stories, I think one story overlapped with what we were doing. There's so much news out there. There's enough for 2 shows.
Yeah, like when you were co-hosting, what was it, Friday? We did a show that morning. You guys did a show that afternoon. I think there was one segment that crossed over.
Yeah, exactly.
The forced migration thing. Other than that, it was all different. Just by chance, we didn't even coordinate. Hobbs 45, thanks for the $11. My favorite part of Schindler's List was Harrison Ford swings on his whip and then hides the Jews inside the Ark of the Covenant. Face melting. Well, same director, both movies. That's why.
That's my kind of nerdy joke.
Yep. Penny Arcos, Dan Gertler looting Congo since 2012 with Dershowitz. I didn't know Dershowitz was involved with that. Dan Gertler, he's the diamond guy, right? He has the copper mines and the diamond mines in the Congo, the conflict diamond billionaire. I knew who he was. I didn't know Dershowitz was in on that action. So I'll take your word for it, I suppose. Wouldn't surprise me, no. Pat Donahue, thanks for the €10. Congrats to Russell on the Jimmy Dore gig. Finally, greatness has been recognized. Thank you, Patrick.
Or at least my availability.
Yeah, his availability has been recognized. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed my drug war article, lads. A bit of research went into it, but hopefully it changes some opinions. I started reading that. Patrick, I will confess I had not had a chance to finish it yet. I know that sounds like a weak excuse, but it is a bit long, but it's good. What I read of it is strong, and I think we will actually print that one. So I will get back in touch with you for sure, Patrick. Thank you. Thanks for the $2. Would you guys ever consider having Alex Jones on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On the Rumble side of the wall.
Yeah. I mean, how can we turn that down? I don't think we're big enough. I don't think he would say yes. But yeah, I mean, for sure.
You never know.
Never know. I mean, he is deep enough in debt. If we offer him $20, he might do it.
Right. I'm a big fan of the Jewish people.
yeah, right. Yeah.
I like you two Jews. I'll do it. Sure.
Yeah. I always said there were a few good ones, and you're a couple of them. Yeah, I would include you in that category.
Do you want me to wear a kippah?
Yeah, right.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Indeed. All right, folks. Thank you very much. 1354 now on YouTube. Thank you. Please hit that like button, folks. Please hit that subscribe button as well. If you're over there on Rumble, please hit that follow button. Let's move on. We got another Trump-related story here. Colorado moved to remove Donald Trump from the ballot, as has Maine. The Supreme Court will hear that case, and according to this headline, the court says it will decide if Trump qualifies for Colorado ballots. The Supreme Court said Friday that it will decide whether former President Donald Trump's name can appear on primary election ballots, scheduling arguments just 5 weeks from now in a case that will have a major impact on this year's presidential election. Colorado's top court disqualified the Republican frontrunner from the ballot last month, finding that he engaged in an insurrection before and during the January 6, 2021 attack on the United States Capitol. Similar arguments have been made to keep Trump off the ballot in other states. While some of those challenges have failed, including in Michigan and Minnesota, the efforts are still pending in Illinois, Oregon, Massachusetts, and elsewhere. Maine's top election official last month barred Trump from the ballot, an order that the former president has appealed in state court. Friday's announcement puts the justices in a pivotal and potentially uncomfortable position with echoes of the court's involvement in the 2000 election. Pardon me. When its decision assured victory for George W. Bush, meaning in 2000, polarized the nation and damaged the court's reputation as an independent institution. The court's brief order scheduled oral arguments for February 8th and came a day before the third anniversary of the Capitol riot. Legal scholars and state election officials have urged the court to quickly settle the question of Trump's eligibility as a candidate and to ensure all states follow the same policy ahead of this year's primary voting. Trump holds a wide lead over other Republican contenders, with the Iowa caucuses less than 2 weeks away and state primaries starting January 23rd. So, key sentence here to focus in on is that what the recommendation is, and from the title of this article seems the Supreme Court will follow through on, the recommendation is that the Supreme Court actually rule on whether or not Trump qualifies to be on the Colorado ballot or whether he should be off of the Colorado ballot. The fear in many people's eyes is that the Supreme Court would punt the issue back to the states and say it's up to each individual state to interpret the 14th Amendment as they see fit, which would cause complete chaos because then some states would be free to bar him, some wouldn't. If SCOTUS rules that the Colorado court got it wrong and that Trump is eligible and therefore must be included on the Colorado state ballot, that puts this whole question of where's he going to be on, where's he going to be kicked off, that puts that to bed. That's obviously the best outcome for Donald Trump. And even though I'm not personally planning on voting for Donald Trump, I think that's far and away the best outcome for the country because as one of the slides here says as well, this is a potentially dangerous situation if the court intervenes to either kick it back to the states or, even worse, what if they rule he is ineligible for the Colorado ballots? That opens the door to disqualify him entirely. So I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to say they rule in Trump's favor and keep him on and put this issue to bed because I think the social cost of doing the opposite is just too big. And without saying too much in East Berlin, there's no telling what happens if and when the Supreme Court decides he's not eligible to run again. You're talking about a level of social instability that makes January 6th look like, well, kind of like what it was, but, makes January 6th look like a walk in the park. That'll make January 6th look like a bunch of people walking around a public building. Yes.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that more on the Jimmy Dore show tomorrow with one of the Capitol Police is running for Congress now. And somebody gave him a lot of money for that fucking ad. That's all I'm going to say until we get to it tomorrow. I think it could go either way. I really do. This is the court that struck down Roe v. Wade, so it's not a court that's terribly concerned with the social consequences of its decisions.
Totally fair point.
So how do they rule on the law of this? Do they decide that it's beyond their purview to make a judgment about whether what he did constituted insurrection, which is really what they would have to decide to uphold Colorado's decision.
And that's, of course, a tough case to make because he was not charged with the crime of insurrection. Even Jack Smith decided not to charge him with that. So it would be a major leap for them to go ahead and say, yes, this is a valid interpretation of the 14th Amendment. Yes, he's guilty of insurrection, which means, yes, he's disqualified.
I would go even further than that. I would say if they make that jump, that is evidence that they work for people like everybody else in Washington, because I don't feel like you can legally get there. If they make that kind of a jump, I'd say they were told to. That would be the conclusion I would draw if they do that.
Yeah. And then what happens as a result of that? I mean, how far can you stretch this rubber band, right? I mean, at a certain point, you reach a point of no return. Obviously, that we don't want that, but part of the reason why I would strongly advise Justice Roberts, if you're listening, to consider the cost.
Well, he's he's a $10 a month patron, isn't he?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's part of what's the guy's name? What's the guy? Jim Crow, or not Jim Crow? Harlan Crow. Jim Crow. Yeah.
Our biggest donor, Jim Crow.
Yeah, no, Harlan Crow. Harlan Crow. That's part of Harlan Crow's gift package to the Supreme Court justices. He gets them all Patreon memberships to our show.
They never miss an episode. So guys, don't mess this one up. It's going to be civil war.
Yeah. And courts are supposed to be prudent in that way. Like part of the point of three separate but co-equal branches that have a check on the other two. Part of the design of that is for courts to step in and prevent tyranny of the majority. Tyranny of the majority often leads to injustice or instability. So it is actually part of the court's function to actually act with some level of prudence and concern for the stability and social fabric of the country. That's part of the job. It's not a part of the job this Supreme Court takes terribly seriously. Otherwise, they would not have overturned Roe v. Wade. And it's for the reasons I'm talking about that actually Justice Roberts is documented as having lobbied very hard for the conservative justices to uphold Roe versus Wade. He failed to do that.
Right.
But for that reason, I'm betting they're going to keep Trump on the ballot.
I would say it probably leans that way, but don't be surprised to be surprised. I think yes, but nobody thought they would strike down Roe v. Wade either until like the leak came,
right?
Because of the amount of social instability you create, because of the kind of backlash you create. They have not set a precedent of ruling that way. What is interesting is you're getting so many Democrats like Gavin Newsom, who, if that guy was born with a soul, he got rid of it at a crossroads a long time ago. And even he's saying, yeah, no, you got to beat him at the ballot box. Like there are a fair amount of Democrats who are recognizing what the danger of taking him off the ballot is. And it's very interesting that they're saying that, because I can't imagine anyone thinks he would lose.
Because, look, man, I mean, the kind of chaos that you're talking about were he to be thrown off the ballot is something that no one wants. Even the shit libs don't want that, right? The secure in their position PMC libs, yeah, I mean, they want Trump to lose. They want Biden to win. They hate Trump. But life under Trump was not that bad. They still get to drink the white wine and watch Rachel Maddow rant about what a disgrace Trump is, right? They still have their house. They still have the supermarket open. They still have the bank open. You don't have chaos. You don't have social chaos, the likes of which we would likely see if they did something like that, because Trump is the front runner, not just for the nomination. He is the front runner for the fucking presidency. He would be elected president if the election were held right now. So to make a move as drastic as to just rule him as unqualified or disqualified from running, that's a major move. You are crossing a point of no return. And I don't think
you don't feel that Biden Valley Forge speech moved the needle towards Biden? You don't think in the next round of polling he's going to have overtaken Trump?
I do not. And we will have a segment on that in just a moment. So if you're watching the clip version on YouTube, stay tuned for when that next clip drops. Everybody else, hang tight, because we're going to start that segment in just a moment. But let's go to a few super chats. Abiding 71, thanks for the 99 cents. Appreciate that. Carrie Scott, thanks for the $2. We sample Keaton and EB on Fall in Love by Steve Wick. Oh, that's your song, Carrie? Did you change your screen name recently? Because I remember you had sampled Extra Bullet and myself on that Fall in Love track, which is a fun track. Thank you. It was an honor to be featured.
What is this? They
sampled my voice in a song.
Oh yeah, you showed
of theirs. I should play that, actually. Why don't you email that to us? We'll play it on Tuesday. Granite Liberty, thanks for the $5. No matter what they say, Trump is still a New Yorker. Indeed.
He's one of ours. He's one of ours. For better or worse, he has all the signs.
Indeed. Jake, how are we doing over on Rumble? 948 strong as of 7:30. That's a beautiful Rumble crowd. Thank you guys all very much for being here. Thank you guys for your super chats and Rumble rants. Much appreciated. 007 Angelo, thanks for the $2. Team America 2 will be BB multiplying 911s. Thank you, 007 Angelo. Appreciate that very much. 1,060 on Rumble now. Look at that. Beautiful. We cracked 1,000 on the Rumble stream. That's awesome. Indeed. Jeff Horn. Thanks, Jeff Horn. Thanks for the $5. Recommend everyone checks out Tech for Palestine organization. Pretty great to see happening. Interview on counterpoints. Interesting. Thank you for that very much. Okay, let's do a couple more here, and then we will go on to segment number 3. Based on Jerry's pro-IOF stance last year, I really enjoyed watching his appearance in Pulp Fiction over and over again recently. Jerry. Which Jerry?
Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld wasn't in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, but he has that in quotes. You got this one's all over the place. So
yeah, I don't get that one, Dave. But thank you.
That was too textured for us.
Yeah, you're a patron. Why don't you call in and tell us what you meant by that? Because that is potentially a good joke. I just didn't get it. Hobbs 45. Let's play Michelle Monaghan, Carey Mulligan, or Michelle Williams. Round 2. Oh yeah, I've heard that Mary Kay Place was in The Big Chill.
She was. She was.
Well, I said she
was.
Yeah,
for anyone who missed it, we went over to the Rumble side, and I had a quantum split theory because one article. And that's why I had so much conviction about it, because I Googled it while we were talking about it. And one article said Mary Beth Hurt was in it. But then so many people were so insistent that I looked again, and I found another article that said that she wasn't.
Okay, I know this one for sure. So, Russell, why don't you guess? This way we can keep score, because I know it for sure.
But by the way, the final answer is she's not. But Mary Kay Place is.
Mary Kay Place is. Right. That's why he has the score as 1-0. So Michelle Monaghan, Carey Mulligan, or Michelle Williams, round 2, Gone Baby Gone.
Don't even know.
The answer is Michelle Monaghan. Now, that movie, I really did not like that movie. I liked The Town, which was the other Ben Affleck crime movie in Boston. Gone Baby Gone is based on the Dennis Lehane book.
Oh, I like that movie.
I'm sorry, the plot is just too ridiculous.
I couldn't even remember what movie it was at first, but yeah.
They literally throw a doll off a cliff and have a doll float in the water, and then I think like the police or somebody sees a doll floating in the water and they mistake it for a person, and that like the plot hinges on that. I think those Dennis Lehane books are just not very good from a plot standpoint. I thought the same thing about Mystic River. You notice at the end of Mystic River, there are like 5 things that happen at the exact same second, which is just very, very contrived. So it's not that it wasn't well made, but yeah, I just I couldn't get past. I couldn't suspend my disbelief enough to really like it. But yes, Michelle Monaghan is the correct response there. Thank you, Hobbs. Appreciate it. That's a fun game. You should keep sending in those $11 super chats so we could play that game.
I'm gonna just everything you send in, I'm gonna say Mary Beth Hurt.
Mary Beth Hurt. Yeah.
Star Wars. Mary Beth Hurt.
Mary Beth Hurt. Indeed.
Mary Beth Hurt driving a Tesla.
Right. Exactly. Dan Richmond, thanks for the $5 over on Rumble. Appreciate you. You're giving the libs way too much credit, Keaton. They think all our problems are solved when Orange Badman is gone, and in their bubbles, there will be no consequences. That is true. I mean, I think a lot of the libs don't really think through
the libs think he should be taken off. Oh, no, you're absolutely right. But you have, I guess Gavin Newsom is a little smarter than that.
Right. He's smarter than the rank and file. Like the governor of California understands the consequences of a thing like that. The rank and file, yeah, they want him off.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Look who's behind your shoulder. Waving hi to Jimmy Dore from outside. There he is. Jimmy Dore making an Alfred Hitchcock cameo on the show today. Background.
Was he selling the mug there?
Oh, that's his official Jimmy Dore mug.
I saw those in the pantry. I was going to ask him if I could take one.
We have to get mugs that we can honk. We have mugs that we can honk. I just don't have a physical thing of it. I have to order one from our merch people, and I'll model it for everybody. Okay. Yes, Mystic River does has some raw honesty. No, the acting was very good. It was very well made. I just thought the plot was too silly and contrived, especially toward the end. Anyway, what do we got? Oh, yeah, we're going to do the Biden speech. Okay, so yesterday marked the, 3-year anniversary now of January 6th of Deplorapalooza, as I like to call it. And Joe Biden commemorated the occasion with his kickoff speech of 2024, right? Not his first campaign speech of the campaign, but his first big speech of the new year. We're going to be playing more of this on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow. But for now, let's play a part of this that zeroes in on Donald Trump's affection for dangerous foreign leaders.
Look at the authoritarian leaders and dictators Trump says he admires. He out loud says he admires. I won't go through them all. It'll take too long. Look, remember how he first...
I can rattle off your list. It doesn't take that long. Benjamin Netanyahu. How's that? How's that for your list of dangerous authoritarian leaders who you support? Short but sweet.
Rachel Maddow couldn't answer that for some reason.
No.
She wasn't comfortable answering. I asked her that question. Is Benjamin Netanyahu a dangerous foreign leader? Because she had spent a lot of time. She made a little joke about Donald Trump's coziness with dangerous foreign leaders.
Yeah.
But Netanyahu, yeah. No, I'm cutting some of this for the Dore Show tomorrow. I'm thinking about just cutting in pictures of Biden with Netanyahu.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Where he refers to what he calls love letter exchanges between he and the dictator of North Korea. Those women and men out there in the audience.
Sorry, I hate to have to do this, folks. We're not going to pause it every 10 seconds. But that same leader of North Korea is now making preparations for war because of what he cites very correctly, like him or not, as unprecedented behavior by your United States government. Mm-hmm. So give me Donald Trump's handshakes any day of the week over your poking and needling of a nuclear armed power.
Well, that's what's amazing about this stuff. It's just so fucking stupid. You have to be so stupid to listen to this and say, I'm not taking shit from North Korea. I'm not cozying up. I don't want America cozying up to North Korea. What the fuck does North Korea have to do with you? What does it have to do with you? Are they bothering you? Right. What are they doing to you that is affecting your fucking life?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, it's just totally unhinged. All right, we will let this play now.
Ever fought for the American military? Would you ever believe you'd hear a president say something like that? His admiration for Putin. I could go on. And look at what these autocrats are doing to limit freedom in their countries. They're limiting freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to assemble, women's rights, LGBTQ rights. People are going to jail. So much more.
You forgot the T.
It's true. The push and
probably
pull of
intentional.
American history.
He knows the tide is turning. That's why he
that's
dropped
not the
T.
one you want to leave out. If you're gonna hit one of those, you got to make sure you put the T in there. That's not the one you want to leave out. Obviously, Biden's White House is fighting.
He's going for the J.K. Rowling vote.
Right, yeah, exactly. Fighting in court to maintain their right, quote unquote, to pressure social media companies to censor speech that they don't like. But he goes on.
Sending the IRS to Matt Taibbi's house the day he testified in front of Congress. That's not authoritarian. It's not authoritarian at all. That was a coinkydink.
Yeah, well, he has the wrong values is the problem. Matt Taibbi's values are wrong. When you have the wrong values, they can shut you up. You have to have the right values. You have to have the good values.
The push and pull of American history is not a fairy tale. Every stride forward in America is met with ferocious backlash many times from those who fear progress and those who exploit that fear for their own personal gain. From those who traffic in lies, told for power and profit. For those who are driven by grievance and grift, consumed by conspiracy and victimhood from those who seek to bury history and ban books. Do you ever think you'd be in a political event talking about book banning?
Motherfucker, listen, books telling fucking school children how to hook up for sex online with graphic depictions of oral sex, asking that those not be in your child's school, that is not fucking book banning. Stop it. When you use word terms like book banning that way, you take all the force out of it when books actually do need to be defended. And if you are a parent who feels that your child should be reading about how to, get fucked in a men's room, you can give them those books. But it is not the business of the state to be exposing children to that material. Who thinks it is? Who thinks it is? It's just such an incredible example of this propaganda at work. Because if you look this up to do research on this subject, all the headlines from the corporate media, Genderqueer is the most banned book in America. And you look into it, what they mean by banned, they mean parents objecting to having it in school libraries. It's not banned. It's not banned. Go to Amazon. See if you can get that book. Get that book right now. You can go to the library. You can see that book. That's what he's talking about when he says book banning.
Yeah, and also, on top of that, 99.999% of Americans don't write books. Okay, which means even if there are restrictions on books, that does not affect the vast, vast, vast majority of people. You know what does? Censoring social media, because most Americans are on some form of social media, which is what you are not only trying to do, but you are now fighting in court a ruling that says the government cannot directly pressure social media companies to censor speech. All right, we'll keep going. We're about halfway through.
The presidential election. The choice and contest between those forces, those competing forces, between solidarity and division is perennial. But this time it's so different. You can't have a contest. You can't have a contest if you see politics as an all-out war instead of a peaceful way to resolve our differences. All-out war is what Trump wants. That's why he doesn't understand the most fundamental truth.
I'm sorry, whose Justice Department tried to lock up a diagnosed schizophrenic for the crime of being escorted around the Capitol building by police officers? That was your government, I believe. So who is declaring war on who here, right? I'm not giving Trump a pass. He floated the idea of, locking protesters in jail for 10 years for defacing statues during the George Floyd protests. He didn't actually do that, but he floated. I'm not giving him a pass here. But if we're dealing with the moment at hand, who's actually declaring war on who, right? At best, that's even. That's even.
Well, and when you look at this very safe and effective actions of the FBI and possibly agents of the police in the crowd that day, or Ray Epps, who just got a fig leaf sentence
6 months.
6 months, when other people are in jail for years just for being there.
No, he got the Leonardo DiCaprio sentence in the Departed, right? You're going to go away for a while. You're going to come out. You're going to work for that. That's what he got.
That's it.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Good? All right, cool.
We're good. Right. We're good. That's my take, man. I'm out of here. All right, have a good show. That's all I wanted to say. Look, I took a slam at graphic cocksucking in the public schools. My work here is done.
Yeah, there you go.
About this country. Unlike other nations on earth, America is not built on ethnicity, religion, geography. We're the only nation in the history of the world built on an idea. Not hyperbole, built on an idea.
The rest are made out of lemons.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. It's an idea. Declared in the Declaration, created in a way that we've viewed everybody as equal and should be treated equal throughout their lives. We've never fully lived up to that. We have a long way to go.
Oh, is that right?
But we've
really?
never walked away from the idea.
Oh, no.
We've never walked away
We've
from
never stopped propagandizing the
it. I
public.
promise you, I will
We've
not.
never
let
stopped
go.
telling people you too can be a winner.
We've never funded a genocide by a white settler colonial state against an imprisoned population of brown people. That would I would consider that walking away from the idea that all men are created equal. I mean, that's me. That's me. I would say you walked away from that idea pretty decisively in taking that action. What have we said all the time? I've mentioned this before because this is a part of Trump's appeal, and this is not articulated very often. But when Joe Biden says America is based on an idea, that is very part and parcel of the establishment line. You've heard Reagan say that. You've heard Obama say that. You heard, Bill Clinton say that. Leaders, reputable, respected leaders from both parties have parroted that line over and over again. And you do not hear Donald Trump say that because to Donald Trump, America is not an idea, but a place with people in it
And
who
merchandise.
have interests and merchandise and products.
It's a place with
We
merchandise.
are a place of people and products.
And schmatas.
And schmatas. Exactly. No, but there's serious truth to that. There's serious appeal to that. Because when he says America is an idea founded upon the idea that all men are created equal, and we have not lived up to that. But if you notice, he called out earlier in that passage there, those who fear progress. The enemy are those who fear progress. So we have an idea laid out in our founding documents about the equality of all men and women. I know in the document it says men, so I'm quoting the document. All right. Take it easy. Okay. But we have this idea of equality of all people that we have not lived up to. And according to Joe Biden, we'll never really live up to it. It's a process of perfecting our union. Right? Mm-hmm. And the enemy are those who fear that progress. The enemy are those who are opposed to that project of perfecting an idea that will never be perfected. You know what Donald Trump would say about that? He'd say it's 3 paragraphs of bullshit because it is bullshit. It is bullshit. There's no actual politics there. There's no actual conflict there. That does not map onto material reality in any way. It's all conceptual. It's all poetic. These are the politics of mainstream liberals now, and for a long time, mainstream Reaganite Republicans. Their idea of living up to certain ideals is obviously different from a lot of liberals' ideas, but it's all conceptual. It's all in the air. None of it's analog. None of it's real. And at a moment like this, that rings particularly hollow and empty because materially, what is happening? Life is getting harder and harder to live for more and more people. What does Russell say? Russell says what keeps the system held together is the fact that there are enough PMCs who are bought off, who then become these sort of non-player characters in this game. These people who just kind of, read the news, that's nice, go along, vote for this guy, vote for that guy, doesn't matter who wins. You can maintain that system as long as you pay off enough people. But capitalism is not able to pay off enough people with a good life anymore. And that's why the Trump model, which deals with people and products and money and resources and borders and walls, resonates so much more than this nonsense about America's an idea and it's about those who welcome progress versus those who fear progress. What does that even mean? What does that even mean at this point? When 60-something% of people don't have an extra $400 in their bank account for when the car needs to be fixed. Though all that flowery language is completely meaningless. It has no legs.
Well, you can sell that to people as long as they connect that rhetoric with the good lives that they're living.
Exactly.
And a lot of activists of color have made the point, and it's a point I agree with, that now a lot of white people are getting a taste of how this stuff always sounded to them. Because they were never able, large sections of those communities were never able to connect that rhetoric to the life that they actually live. Buy the cup.
Oh, there you go. I couldn't see him there. The reflection was there.
I heard it. It's so windy today. I didn't know if it was the tree.
There you go. Activists of what? There's another window?
I think he's locked out. I think he's coming in over there.
Oh.
Look, I've had it with you guys. The push-pull of America's history cannot be denied. You are driven by grievance and grift. Is that what's happening here? You're sitting here being driven by grievance and grift. And I could, by the way, this is the Jimmy Dore mugs. They're available right now at the Jimmy Dore merch store.
Those
They're
are the grievance and
fantastic.
grift mugs.
This is the grievance and grift mug.
Yeah.
Become a part of the grievance and grift mug club.
There you go.
Are you coming on here and working your right-wing grift? Are you working your right-wing grift on our
I'm so
show?
sick of people being driven by grievance and grift and denying the push and pull of American history.
Our next segment, we're actually going to close out with a rousing chorus of "God Bless America."
God bless America. Did you ever think you'd be hearing an American president try to have peaceful overtures with North Korea? Do you know what that does to defense stocks?
I
Can
know.
you believe
Kills them.
it kills them?
Kills them.
It tears at the social fabric of the country.
That's right. Banning and banning books that show kids how to do oral copulation on Mossad agents. This is grievance and grift. Push, pull, history. Don't deny it.
Beautiful.
You say it nicer than I do.
What a cameo. What a cameo. I thought we were just getting the Alfred Hitchcock background actor cameo. Instead, we got a little monologue.
We got that. Well, that's hang on. We worked on that. We worked on it earlier. That's we're submitting that to the Academy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What were you saying? Does it matter?
It always matters.
You were saying
Always.
activists of color have been saying that, white people have been paid off.
That's it. So he's going on about these ideals and philosophies that when people went home to their nice house and their nice car and their nice cushy job, they would, and you give them that rhetoric, they connect it to those things, which communities that didn't have those things never made that connection. It always struck them as very hollow. But for those people, for the PMCs, America, that's where you got that patriotism from. Hearing Joe Biden, which he does, we didn't show this part, at the end of his speech, pulling that America is the greatest country on earth bullshit, nobody's buying it. People know too much now. It's very different than it used to be when you only got American news and you didn't get any information from outside. We are towards the bottom or middle of the pack by almost every measure. Health outcomes, infant mortality, science papers published even, which was something we were head and shoulders above other countries in for a very long time. Wealth distribution, inequality, almost every measure you can name, we're in the middle or towards the bottom. I mean, we're down there with much poorer countries than ourselves on many levels of the well-being. We have a plummeting life expectancy. What are you talking about? We're the greatest country on earth. For who? For who? Who believes that anymore? Who sees it that way anymore? We've never given up on this idea. Yeah, what I hear when I hear that, it's like it's like the way that they would keep the poor whites in the South from rising up by saying, well, at least you got it better than them. They do that to all of us as a whole. Well, America's an ideal. It's the greatest country on earth. So why would you rise up against it? Doesn't get any better than that. You're better than those people who are not American. You're better than the people who don't live here. Why would you not support this system? You don't want to be like those people, do you?
Right. Exactly. No, it's just, there's a lot in that speech that he gets into, which we'll be getting into more, throughout the week. But that was just a part of it that rang especially hollow, both sort of philosophically and materially, of course. I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is more in bed with dangerous authoritarian leaders, as your own party is begging you to get Benjamin Netanyahu under control, and you're just ignoring them to the point where your own senior advisors are now quitting and calling you out on MSNBC of all places, and you don't care enough to listen, much less do any sort of course correction.
Yeah, I thought that speech was remarkable. We're going to cover a lot more of it tomorrow. I was just amazed at the out of touchness, the tone deafness of it, and the absolute lack of policy. He didn't propose a goddamn thing. Right. It was all the Trump, the barbarians are at the gate, and we are the good upholders of civilization, and we must defeat these barbarians.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. All right, let's take some super chats here. We got quite a few. Thank you guys for sending these in. Tusker is a member for 8 months. Thank you, Tusker. Did you guys spend any time watching the Alex Jones Destiny debate over January 6th? I did. That was quite long. I think Glenn had that on a loop on his channel because it kept playing for like 4 hours straight. I don't think it was that long, but it was pretty long. But I did watch some of it. And it was interesting. Maybe we'll cover some of that on Tuesday. We need some stuff for Tuesday. Elizabeth Marshall, friend of show, Justice Roberts. Yes, thank you. Clue Blue, ruling in favor of Trump, no insurrection. That's Clue Blue's prediction. Thank you, Clue Blue. The Amazing Blumpkin, would any of this affect write-ins? Yes, it would affect write-ins. Apparently in Colorado, if he is disqualified from the ballot, that also means that the Secretary of State is barred from counting write-ins with his name on it. So as I understand it, at least in Colorado, that would affect write-ins if he were kicked off. Scott Farquharson, thank you for the $5. His Epstein list were made into a movie. Who would direct it? It depends on the findings. I don't know. I mean, it seems like his list is pretty safe and effective, so it would probably be a pretty boring movie. I mean, they'd probably tap like I don't know. Who directs boring movies now?
I mean, I think they would have to let Weinstein out on work release to do that.
Yeah, well,
he's the only one who could really do it justice.
Yeah, exactly. Bring some authenticity to the material. Eric Rousseau, thank you for the $5. You see Cat Williams on Shannon Sharp podcast exposing Hollyweird. He broke the internet. I have not seen that yet. I have not. That is on my list of things to see. Thank you, though. Riffside, thank you for the $5. I'm collecting signatures to make New York the actual Jewish state. So far, I've gotten 3 squirrels and some guy named Pete. Well, I always say, New York is the closest thing this side of the pond, for sure.
That's why I say this. Oh, we need Israel to make us feel safe. What the fuck are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Israel is making me very unsafe.
Yes.
I am perfectly safe in New York. I can get a nice pastrami and matzo ball soup anytime I want.
Exactly. Nobody bothers.
I don't need Israel. Israel does not do a damn thing for me.
Did you see Jonathan Capehart, Jonathina Capehart like that, when interviewing Michael Fanone, where are the Gaza tears? Yeah, we might be doing that tomorrow. I sent Russell that. I don't know if that made the cut for tomorrow, but I did submit that.
No, yeah, that'll be a good quick hit for tomorrow.
Yeah, a good quick one.
Yeah, well, he did that. He's the crier. He did that when Trump got elected. He was in an interview with one of Trump's people about how afraid he was now that Donald Trump was becoming president.
Yeah.
And, they reassured him, no, there's nothing for you to be afraid about. That fucking scumbag. See, I think we've all blocked out the 2016 election, like the deep traumatic experience it was. But Capehart was writing these hit pieces on Bernie while dating a Clinton staffer. I think he was actually living with a Clinton staffer and not disclosing that.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Interesting.
Yes.
Biden should be a mall walker, not POTUS. Yes, thank you. Eric, 007 Angelo, Trump can say same thing about Biden, love of Bibi. Yep, that's the point I made, indeed. And DC, yeah, this makes an interesting point because this is actually a very good point. That speech was done at Valley Forge, and he invoked George Washington. But DC makes the point: President George Washington was an insurrectionist. Yeah,
a safe and effective insurrectionist.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good point.
All right. So did we hit another 666 milestone?
I believe we did.
These do
not want Indeed, Cool Blue. Thank you for that. As always, Kuznetsky Basane. Luckily, the MIC, former communist enemies of the U.S., are now autocratic enemies. Thank you, Kuznetsky. We got some Rumble rants. D. Barahona is now a monthly supporter, so thank you very much for that. Keep her tracking. I wonder if the Republicans can try to contrive a way to kick Biden off state ballots due to cognitive impairment under the 25th Amendment. Get in some of that lawfare action. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I doubt it. But I think the Democrats are going to swap him off anyway. And apparently that made like the J.P. Morgan list of 10 surprise predictions in 2024. So I'm not alone. We might have to cover that on Tuesday. Yassine Miller, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Christos Sarikayegas. Oh, man, that's a tough one. But thank you for the super sticker. Indeed. And Tony B. This really hurts to watch. Thank you very much. We'll get to everything in due time.
Yeah. Somebody, I mean, we'll get to it in the super chat. But somebody, that was the thing with Capehart. He got into all that claiming that the handcuff picture wasn't real.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, this is the one. The handcuff picture of Bernie getting arrested in the deep south, the segregated south.
But he was either dating or maybe even living with a Clinton staffer at the time that he was writing those articles.
That is interesting. Yeah, I did not know that. But folks, you can become a member of this show by going to patreon.com/do dissidents and helping to keep this project afloat. We love all of our patrons, our Substackers, our Locals members very much. You guys are the backbone of the show. Perks of becoming a member include call-in access to our weekly post-show Q&As, one of which is coming up later this evening on Rumble. You also get access to 2 supporter-exclusive live streams per month. Those are 2 streams that we do just for the members every month. And you also get your name up in lights here during the mid-show scroll and shout out. You can go to patreon.com/do dissidents. You can go to dodissidents.substack.com and sign up as a paid member there. You can also check us out on Locals. If you're watching on Rumble now, as of 8 o'clock, there were 1,100 of you lovely people watching on Rumble. You can join our Locals by hitting that join button right underneath the screen. That's dodissidents.locals.com. And so
we have like 3,000 people.
Yeah, we got about 3,000 between the 2 platforms tuning in on this Sunday night.
I think it's time you take off your pants.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Get the show started. Patreon.
Maybe wait for Rumble.
Yeah, right.
Wait till we get to Rumble.
Wait for Rumble for that. Indeed. You can go to patreon.com/do dissidents, dodissidents.substack.com or dodissidents.locals.com and sign up there. Your support is what censor-proofs the operation. It's what keeps us going. We try our best to make it worthwhile for everyone to join. Like I said, call-in access to the Q&A portions. You also get 2 bonus shows per month. Those are call-in shows as well, so those are really fun and interactive and uncensored. Those are on Rumble. And you get your name up in lights here on the shout-out screen. Kuznetsky Basane, we never wiped out a Native American population. Was that in response to what somebody else said? Are you arguing with somebody? Because I would say we did quite the number on the Native Americans.
Chris Rock said it best. When have you ever seen 2 Indians?
Right. Yeah. Pretty dark stuff there, for sure. All right, we're going to take some more super chats in just a few moments, but updates in the Bill Ackman quest to cancel the presidents of UPenn, Harvard, and MIT. Obviously, UPenn's president stepped down a couple weeks ago. Claudine Gay resigned from Harvard after new plagiarism accusations surfaced in the Washington Free Beacon. Bill Ackman setting his sights now on MIT, but his plan hit a bit of a snag when it was reported in Business Insider that Bill Ackman's celebrity academic wife, Neri Oxman's dissertation is marred by plagiarism. Wow. Business Insider writes, the billionaire hedge fund manager and major Harvard donor Bill Ackman seized on revelations that Harvard's president, Claudine Gay, had plagiarized some passages in her academic work to underscore his calls for her removal following what he perceived as her mishandling of large protests against Israel's bombardment of Gaza on Harvard's campus. An analysis by Business Insider found a similar pattern of plagiarism by Ackman's wife, Neri Ackman, who became a tenured professor at, where? The Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 2017. That's the only way this story could get sweeter, is if she were actually employed at one of the universities whose presidents he is trying to cancel. In fact, this is the last one on his list, at least in the short term. Ackman plagiarized multiple paragraphs of her 2010 doctoral dissertation, Business Insider found, including at least one passage directly lifted from other writers without citation. Her husband, Ackman, has taken a hardline stance on plagiarism. On
Wednesday, he gives a shit.
Yeah, like he gives a shit. On Wednesday, responding to news that Gay is set to remain a part of Harvard's faculty after she resigned as president, he wrote on X that Gay should be fired completely due to serious plagiarism issues. In other words, her resignation as president's not enough for him. He wants her fired from the campus altogether. In Ackman's dissertation completed at MIT, she plagiarized a 1998 paper by two Israeli scholars, Steve Weiner and H. Daniel Wagner, a 2006 article published in the journal Nature by New York University historian Peter Enker, and a 1995 paper published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society of London. She also lifted from a book published in 1998 by the German physicist Klaus Mathek, and in a more classical mode of plagiarism, copied one paragraph from Mathek without any quotation or attribution. So here you go, a side-by-side comparison.
Okay, all right. I've just got to say, I know that you didn't go to college, they wouldn't have you, but for those of us who did go to college, I don't understand why people would even do this. It's simple enough to just put quotation marks and a fucking footnote. Like, why? It's not like you're not allowed to quote other sources. It's the nature of academic writing that you cite other things to bolster your argument. Why even do this? Why?
But if you do too many of those in the same paper, it looks like you hardly wrote any of your own content in the paper. I think that's why people don't do it.
You think
As someone
so?
who did
you think
spend
it's just
3 or
that
4 semesters in college, yeah.
You think it's just that? Well, he's in college. He's in college now. He's getting something in what, merchandise marketing and fashion. He's getting a degree in right now. He's at FIT.
I'm at FIT now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you do this so that it doesn't look like you're just piecing together the paper from other sources. You do it so that you look like you're writing stuff that's original.
I suppose
between the cited works.
Yeah, I suppose if the entire paper is just a lift of other people's ideas and concepts, then you'd have to resort to that. That's the only reason you would, if you just have no real original writing in the paper.
Exactly. So here she is again. They just list some examples, just like we saw in the Claudine Gay example. That passage was included in its entirety in Ackman's dissertation. She cited Weiner and Wagner, but did not include the passage in quotation marks, a violation of MIT's Academic Integrity Handbook, both as it is currently written and as it was at the time. So you see, sometimes she would lift a passage exactly, cite it, but not quote it, right? Because you can do that in an academic paper. If you borrow an idea directly from another source, you just put the author's name in parentheses at the end of the sentence without actually putting quote marks around it. See, I know enough about academic writing to know that. You can do that. But in some cases, she didn't even do that. And these are obviously, as you can see, pretty big sections that she just copied and pasted over.
All right. You know how I learned how to properly write a paper? I would not have learned, because they don't normally teach it. I had this old school European teacher for my theater history class, of all things, to take seriously the form of paper writing. He was like John Houseman in The Paper Chase, this guy. He actually spoke like him. First day of class, he says, "In the great wisdom of the 1960s, they decided to dispense with freshman composition. We have been paying for it ever since. So in addition to teaching you theater history, I've taken it upon myself to teach you how to write a paper properly. Which he did. And you know what? That's how I was able to make a living after college. Because the only job I was able to get with the skills I had accrued at college was writing papers. I was writing people's term papers for a living for a while.
Yeah, doing the ghostwriter thing. Yeah, see? So you helped people cheat in college.
I did. I might have helped her.
Yeah, there you go. Like Ackman, Gay was found to have lifted passages from other academics' work without using quotation marks while citing the authors. Gay's plagiarism was seen by some academics, including many of those she plagiarized, as relatively inconsequential. George Reed Andrews, a history professor at the University of Pittsburgh and one of the people Gay plagiarized, told the New York Post that what Gay did happens fairly often in academic writing, yes, which is what I said, and for me does not rise to the level of plagiarism. Quote, I'm glad she read my work, learned from it, and recommended it to her readers, Andrews continued. But for Bill Ackman, the plagiarism wasn't only cause for Gay's immediate ouster as Harvard's president. It also warranted her total removal from its faculty. In the weeks leading up to her resignation as president, he posted more than a dozen times about her plagiarism on X. Now, in response to these revelations about his wife's plagiarism, he tweeted a more than 5,000 word screed on Twitter. This is the same guy who wrote that letter that RFK endorsed, the one that went on forever and ever and ever. He posted this in response to news about his wife. Last night, no one at MIT had a good night's sleep. Yesterday evening, shortly after I posted that we were launching a plagiarism review of all current MIT faculty, President Kornbluth, members of MIT's administration and its board, I am sure that an audible collective gasp could be heard around the campus. Why? Well, every faculty member knows that once their work is targeted by AI, they will be outed. Every faculty member, no body of written work in academia can survive the power of AI searching for missing quotation marks, failures to paraphrase appropriately, and or the failure to properly credit the work for others. Here's the big one, my highlighting, of course. Now that we know that academic body of work of every faculty member at every college and university in the country and eventually the world is going to be reviewed for plagiarism, it's important to ask what the implications are going to be if every faculty member is held to the current plagiarism standards of their own institutions and universities enforce their own rules. They would likely have to terminate the substantial majority of faculty members.
Sounds like a good idea to me. This is where I'm with you.
If this were durable enough to drop, I'd drop it. Because what did I tell you? What did I tell you as soon as this broke? I said you could nail anybody for this. Anybody. And now that his wife got nailed for it, he tweets out, yeah, well, if you scrub every academic paper with AI, you're going to find plagiarism everywhere. Everyone does this. This is how academic papers are written. You read shit, you put it in your own words or not, and you put it in your paper. And of course, you do it more than you say you do because you can't admit that your paper is nothing more than a patchwork collection of borrowed material from other papers. So yeah, everyone fucking does it. And now Ackman himself, once his wife gets exposed, says, yeah, well, I suppose if you took an AI scrubber to every academic paper, you would find this all the time.
Yeah. This is what happens when the purpose of a university becomes manufacturing of credentials rather than the exploration and expansion of knowledge. The purpose of a university is supposed to be research and training people to do research and training people to perform complicated tasks in society. Now it's just manufacturing credentials in order to move up the economic ladder, or depending on what kind of family you're from, maintaining your place in the economic ladder. So what incentive do they have not to do this?
Right.
They're not actually trying to expand the sphere of human knowledge. They're just trying to get credentials. So why would you put real effort into these papers?
Absolutely. And on the other side of this, if you are pursuing the kind of enlightenment that you think academia is there to give you, then it shouldn't bother you that much when someone else plagiarizes a paper. If they're plagiarizing a paper, the only way that affects you is that it makes you less competitive in the marketplace. But if that's really not why you're there, then what difference does it make to you? If somebody cheats on a paper, they're only cheating themselves at that point, are they not?
Well, that's not true, because you're undermining the entire premise of these institutions, and that's how you wound up with these institutions losing all credibility and winding up with entire faculties that could be rightly accused of plagiarism. So that's the problem. It bothered me when I was
need out of the college, can you not?
Not really, if everything is being rotted root and branch. I felt like that when I was in college, and this is before all of this went so far. I was amazed because I was a high school dropout. I mean, obviously, somebody who read a lot, that's how I wound up going on to college. So I had language skills beyond what you would expect from somebody who dropped out of high school. But I was shocked when I looked at the writing of my fellow students who had many more advantages in life than I did. Most of them came from, good homes and had all graduated high school. And when I read their papers, I couldn't believe how bad their writing was. I couldn't believe they had been pushed through the system and allowed to go to college writing like that. And I actually felt cheated by it. I felt like this is where we agree. I felt like most of these people should not be in college, because the way that I thought of college was what I'm describing now. It's for the expansion of knowledge, doing research, training people in highly specialized tasks. And when I looked at these papers that people were writing, I said, 80% of people don't need to go to college. And all it's doing is dragging down the standards that a university should be held to, because it's a business. They want to get asses in the seats. They want to crank out degrees, so they don't hold them to the standards that a university really should be holding people to before they admit you. Now, if you are somebody who belongs in a university, of course that affects you, because they can't teach at the level that you could absorb, because most of the class wouldn't be able to follow it. They wouldn't be able to meet that standard.
Exactly. All right, let's do a couple of super chats here. Cool Blue, thanks for the $4.99. Biden has more to say about Trump than his own vision of improving the U.S. and the lives of its citizens.
Because he doesn't have one.
These offer nothing. Yeah, exactly. Duckzilla, thanks for the $4.99. Biden can't win if he can barely get through a speech. Biden slurring his words and mush-mouthed here. Trump is going to crush Biden. Yeah, in a fair fight, I think there's no doubt about that.
A fair fight without anyone garroting anyone with piano wire.
Right, exactly. Hey, Joe, don't piss down my back and tell me it's ratings, says Derek P. Thank you. Christos gives a $5 super chat for Jimmy. Thank you, Christos. And we also have MCFC Grievance and Griff. Thanks for the $9.99. Christopher, yep, we got you. 666, we got you. That was one of the things that alerted us to it. So thank you very much for that. DC, thanks for the $2.
I think you meant 20%. I meant 20%. It's not a question of deserving. I came from a working class neighborhood. I don't think there's anything wrong with working with your hands. I did it for most of my life in spite of going to college. I drove a fucking horse and carriage.
You can also work with your brain without a college credential. You can also
there's that too
without a college credential.
There's that too. It's not a people don't deserve. It's not that, man. You talk to union electricians, you know what those motherfuckers make? You talk to union carpenters, you know what they make? And as Keaton says, I mean, there are people who go and start their own thing without going to college. That's what I'm saying. It's for a very look at Keaton. Look, he started this thing. I didn't. The only reason I'm fucking sitting here in Jimmy Dore's house is because of this motherfucker. And he didn't go to college.
Well, you can give yourself more credit than that. But yeah, point is, you could, just use your brain. That's all. Use your brain. You don't need someone to teach you how to use your brain. Right?
Yeah, so I'm not saying, people are too stupid. It's just like, unless you are doing something very specific. The reason I was at college was I realized past a certain point, if I wanted to be a theater director, I needed theaters to work in. It's not something you could teach yourself with a fucking shoebox and action figures. You need access to facilities. That's why I went. I needed to be there. But most of the people who go, we've created a society where, again, it's just manufacturing credentials. So at that point, there's no standards. There's no reason. It's just jumping through fucking hoops for a piece of paper. Like there's nothing being accomplished there. And that's what you're saying. I feel like this plagiarism scandal that has been opened up now that they've opened up Pandora's box and they're really looking at this as a whole, it's just revealed how empty the whole thing has become.
Yes, indeed. DC says voters write-in votes aren't counted anyway. Is that true? I didn't know that. I don't know that. Pete, thanks for the £5. I lived through the miners' strike in Scotland, and these scumbags have surpassed Thatcher. Wow. Thank you very much. Okay, Russell, why don't you get that new singing bowl out? We got to test it out because we have a wonderful $100 donation from Landry.
Oh,
Thank
snap.
you. She says,
All
thank
right.
you, or he says, vote no on Genocide Joe, Steiner West 24. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind. And there we go. Do one more.
All right, let me try the other side.
All right, better. We don't have our mic hooked up tonight. Russell's microphone, his replacement mic for the one that got lost in the Twilight Zone portal thing, just arrived today. So we'll have that hooked up for the next show. But thank you. That's very kind of you. What sound does a French cow make? Le moo. That's a good one. That's why Russell likes that one. All right, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Sam for the 199 says it was a different guy. Said it was a different guy, and that guy said no. That must have been in response to our one that we took out of order from you, Sam. What did you guys think about the Alex Jones interview with JD? I think I got through most of the clips. It was pretty entertaining stuff. I've said that about Alex Jones. I've been following his work for a long time. My friend showed me the Loose Change movie when it came out. I already had my suspicions about 9/11 before that, so that was just more entertainment for me. But Alex Jones can talk for 4 hours straight, never repeat himself once, never hesitate once, no ums, no no starts, no stops. It is chock full of content. Make of that content what you will. I'm certainly not one to defend everything Alex Jones has ever said, but I've always defended his talent as a broadcaster. He is far and away one of the premier broadcasters of his time. There's no question about that. The guy's just an unmistakable talent on the microphone, and so
that's our first guest tomorrow.
Never boring for a second. Indeed. Hi from Oz. Props to the Pilger discussion. Thank you. He had a pedigree in making docs, started with the conscripted American troops in Vietnam in 1971. John was a regular on the MSM in the UK in the 70s and 90s. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you to say, and thank you for the donation. Mac Truck. Joe Biden died sometime in early 2022. That's your theory. He's nothing more now than a walking cadaver with some CIA case officer's hand up his ass to make his lips move. Well, the performance would certainly. I don't blame you for thinking that, but I think it's really him. Yeah.
From the crypt.
Kinky for $2. As a communist, I want to thank you for everything you guys do. Oh, that's right. We have the mailbag, too. So between the mailbag and everything, Russell, I think we should move either segment 5 or 6 to Tuesday. Take a look at the list I sent you and let me know which one you want to move. And
5 or 6?
Yeah, we'll move one of them to Tuesday. Which one do you want to move? Because we got a bunch of super chats and we have our mailbag too. So thank you for reminding me of the mailbag. Yeah, I know you didn't mean to remind me of the mailbag, Kinky, but you did. Sam says block quotes look lazy. Breaking them up takes work. Yeah. No, I know. This is what I'm saying. There's a lot more copying and pasting going on these academic papers than people think.
We decided to do the TalkTV on this side, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do Ford then.
All right, let's do it, and then we'll move segment 6 to Tuesday. Yeah, since that's kind of similar to the other one.
Exactly.
All right, beautiful.
That's why. That was my thinking.
Nice. I haven't been this anchored to a broadcast since the Coast to Coast days. Thanks, Tony B. There's a lot of good casts in addition to use guys. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Tony.
that. That's very kind of you to say. Okay, we will take some more super chats in just a few moments here. But let's go on to our next segment. Russell, this is called the Full Disclosure segment from Russell Dobular.
Yes, exactly. I've talked about Tesla, and a lot of people thought it was personal, and I have fully disclosed that I hold Ford. So because we were focused on Tesla, I never said this. Yeah, everyone I know who has like Ford cars have complaints about them, including, as we'll get into, Keaton. So I've been taking all these, I've been doing all these segments on Tesla. So I saw this come across the wire. I thought we should give Ford a little love too. Ford is recalling more than 112,000 F-150 trucks that could roll away while parked. Ford is recalling certain F-150 pickup trucks with a part that could break and cause the vehicles to roll away when parked.
Minor design flaw. Rolls away when parked.
Rolls away when parked. Be sure to put brick behind back wheel when parking. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the truck's rear axle hub bolt could break and cause the axle hub splines to become damaged. Damaged axle hub splines, I guess it is, can result in a vehicle rollaway when the vehicle is in park without the parking brake applied, or cause a loss of drive power, NHTSA official Alex Ansley wrote in a letter to Ford. Both of these conditions can increase the risk of a crash. You think? The recall affects more than 112,000 trucks in the model years 2021 to 23 that have the trailer tow max duty package and a 9.75-inch heavy-duty axle with three-quarter float axle design. A clicking or rattling noise could indicate problems with the rear axle bolt, and owners can take their trucks to a Ford dealer for a repair. All right, I think that's enough on that. All right, so yes, full disclosure, I am a Ford investor. My logic has never been on the quality of Ford. Everyone I know who has Ford have complaints about them. My logic has always been because they have such a foothold for whatever reason. I'm not clear enough on it to venture an opinion. Ford trucks, man. I mean, people who have those pickup trucks in the middle of the country, Ford. They all want a Ford truck. That is the gold standard for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe there is a quality reason. I do. That is what my premise is based on. I think Ford, it has an advantage as people shift to EV, if they shift to EV, that Tesla's Logan's Run 1970s sci-fi film Cybertruck Possible Death Trap is just not going to be able to penetrate that market the way that the Ford will. That having been said, are Fords fucked up and are they known for having problems like this? Yes, everyone I know who has a Ford has stories like this, including my erstwhile co-host.
Yeah, well, they actually did do a recall for this part, and I didn't take advantage of it because it was just a pain in the ass. I think I made the appointment and then I forgot about it. But it has this weird thing where the sensor on the passenger door is broken. And so as a delivery driver, this is especially a pain in the ass because I listen to the radio all the time in the car. And because the passenger door sensor is broken, when I park the car, if the radio's on and I get out to go pick up the food or whatever, the radio will stay on unless I open and close the passenger door again. Just one of those Ford weird, quirky things, I guess. Yeah.
I always hear about this from Ford owners that exactly, like it's all shit like that. Like, yeah, the back light always goes on when I hit the brake unless I do a dance and I invoke the rain gods. The thing makes a sound. It's, yeah, no, sure. Yeah, Fords have a lot of problems from talking to Ford owners, and this certainly demonstrates that. So Tesla is not the only one on the block with manufacturing problems. Now, I was sent an article by one of our supporters, demonstrating that in China, I might do a segment on this, maybe on the Jimmy Show. And in China, Teslas are the most highly rated cars with the least complaints, and in America, they get the most complaints. Now, the article I read about this said it might actually be because they only started manufacturing Teslas in China 8 months ago, and by then they had worked out the kinks, whereas you have more older Teslas around in America before they fix some of the engineering.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't really speak to that. I don't know many Tesla owners myself, but I do know one thing I will say.
It's a little above our pay grade.
It's a little above our pay grade, indeed. But one thing I will say about my Ford is that, in my experience, it remains where I parked it for when I get back.
So far.
Yeah, so far it does not.
That can change at any time.
Yeah, indeed. So I'll say that for the Ford. All right, folks, let's go to our mailbag. So each week we do, on Sunday, we look back on the comments from the week, and we take one funny one and one that we think we should respond to. So this is like perhaps the most backhanded compliment I've ever received from here, from user HN7 code whatever. LOL, Keaton, you are the poster boy for the highly urbanized, totally useless, emasculated man-child. Despite that, I enjoy your webcast. Well, thank you.
That was worth every penny I paid him.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. That is, like I said, one of the more backhanded compliments I've received in my day, but I will take it. And then this was in response to, we had a lot of comments that were along the same lines in response to Tusker and I's segment about Bernie Sanders, where, his opposition to the white nationalism and racism of Trump proves very, very hollow when he refused to say in an interview that Israel should grant full and equal rights to Palestinians, because to do so would be to threaten the status of Israel as a nation. And I said part of the reason why that's especially shameful is because I grew up with a lot of guys like Bernie Sanders or in my family. I'm sure Russell, New York Jew himself, has a similar experience. So I wanted to get Russell's take on this.
That was my family.
No, you didn't have. So
my family.
It wasn't the communist Jews in your family.
My family was very merchandise oriented.
Well, so was my family too, but on the peripheries of it. Like my grandfather was basically a street peddler. He would sell sunglasses when it was sunny. He would sell umbrellas when it was rainy. Literally, he had cardboard boxes full of sunglasses and umbrellas in his basement. He'd wake up. If it was sunny, he'd take the sunglasses out in the street and sell them. If it was rainy, he'd take the umbrellas out in the street.
Take the umbrella.
That's what he did.
I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the show. My family pocketbooks are a collector's item.
Yeah, you have talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah, Dobby. If you look that up, Dobby pocketbooks are a collector's item. Yeah, my grandfather, my great-grandfather was an apprentice to a Lithuanian tinsmith. And he came over here and built up a pocketbook company, your classic Lower East Side peddler turned Madison Avenue shop owner. This is the story of a lot of iconic brands. A lot of iconic department stores from that era started out at push carts and peddlers and built up. Macy's, the Red Star. So R.H. Macy's was a ship's captain. He had a Red Star tattoo between his thumb and his index finger. So it was pretty common for these guys to come from like a peddler background and work their way up. So yeah, they manufactured pocketbooks, and like all my relatives were like those. They were like first generation, born in the country, immigrant striving mentality, like no communists, much more. That's what I was talking to Katie about. Like Katie comes from this whole other world of Jewish New York intellectuals. That's a whole other deal. Like there were those guys around on the Lower East Side at the Forward, the Yiddish newspaper. They were all socialists. Isaac Bashevis Singer wrote for them. They, very, very involved in labor and union organizing. No, my grandfather, when I started talking communism when I was a teenager, he remembered all that. He said to me, "You sound just like them in the 30s with the beards and the hats."
Yeah. No. Okay. Fair enough. So you didn't have him in your family, but you know the type I'm talking about, right? And that was the type I said Bernie is essentially, in his heart of hearts, one of those types. So Donnie V77 says, Keaton, you could say he's a communist all day long. Doesn't matter if he doesn't act on any of his beliefs. Yes, that was my exact point. My exact point is that behind closed doors, he would sound exactly like the type you just heard Russell talk about. Right.
Oh, no. He's coming out of that school.
Absolutely.
He's coming out of that school. But my family were the kind of people who looked at those kinds of Jews like troublemakers.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my family had a lot of those Jews in them. And so we all know what type we're talking about. And my contention is that Bernie is, in his heart of hearts, one of those. He is of that type. He is of that school of thought. I mean, when he talks about honeymooning in the Soviet Union, absolutely.
Yeah,
when he talks about Fidel Castro, not just praising of the literacy program, but he, there's that whole clip that surfaced of him. He gave healthcare to his people. In his heart of hearts, he's an old school Jewish New York commie. Basically, That's what he is. That's who he is. And so my point is that behind closed doors, he'd tell you that's exactly who he is, but he doesn't have the courage to be that in public, which is why you get the mealy mouth talk on all this Israel-Gaza stuff. All right.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Okay, beautiful. Glad you backed me up on that, because Russell wasn't here to back me up on that.
We had a very nice
girl from Arkansas on who is very, very smart and very, very well read and very well cultured, but that's not the kind of thing she could back me up on.
That's not in her wheelhouse. Yes.
Not in her wheelhouse.
No,
right.
yes, that was a whole thing. There's a section of the Lower East Side they used to call the Jewish Athens. Right. Where you had all of the Yiddish newspapers and you had a cafe that all of these socialist Jewish writers would hang out at and debate politics and economic theory. There were two warring factions in the Jewish community because, in spite of the stereotype today that Jews are these white-collar professionals, the stereotype of Jews back then was that they were pickpockets, gangsters, and pimps. That's why if you ever read the Turner Diaries, there's this conspiracy of Jews trading white women. That is a very old myth among anti-Semites, that there are Jews worldwide with this trade in white women. So there were the religious Jews who felt that the Jews had become this way in America because they weren't religious enough. And then there were the socialist Jews who were arguing it was the economic conditions, and they were very deeply involved in the union movement and writing all these radical newspapers. Yes, Bernie is definitely this frozen in amber man out of time from those Jews from that period.
Indeed. All right, we're going to take some more super chats, and then we got one more segment to go before we switch to Rumble. So our Rumble switch is coming up. Rumble.com/Jew Dissidents. Head there and you'll see this live stream. It'll be first on the list with the red box around it that says we're live right now. I know some of you guys want us to post the link. We really can't post links without being accused by the YouTube gods of spamming, especially not Rumble links. Some Rumble mentions of Rumble get censored and stuff like that. And so if you notice when we are switching over there, we'll tell you where to go, but we can't really post links in the chat there, external links. But if you go to rumble.com/Jew Dissidents, you will find us, I promise. Crown Heights. Dr. Gay should sue the pants off Harvard and Ackman if Ackman's wife gets off this everybody does it argument. Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I agree with you in spirit, but she did step down. She did voluntarily step down. So it would be tough for her to do that. But in spirit, I agree with the thrust of your point there. Thank you. Louise Brooks, thanks for the $5. I'm sure Felicity Huffman's daughter would have worked hard on her papers. Yeah, this is the one she bought into the school. Yeah, indeed. I forgot about that. Good call. Man, you guys have good memories. Our viewers really.
Well, that's why. Whenever we don't know something and we really want to know it, I throw it out to them.
Yeah, we just ask.
They're going to know.
They know. Exactly. Tusker, thanks
we
for the $5.
We have the best people. We have the best people.
We have the best people. I've learned more doing my own research than I ever learned while earning my bachelor's degree. Me too, Tusker, even though I never earned a bachelor's degree. I don't have one yet. But yes. The Church, thanks for the $4 super sticker. Put a $sign on everything. Health, education, and law. This is the society you get. Absolutely, Derek. Yes. Thank you. Very good point. Indeed. Okay, we'll read a couple more because we got one segment to go before the switch over. P. Walker Thanks for the $10. Details matter in dissertations. If you mess up details like citations, it raises potential questions about the rest of the work. It's like the removal of brown M&Ms for a... Thank you, P. Walker. Sacker Papa, thanks for the $1.99. Yalla Habibi Keaton, Yalla Habibi on plagiarism. Beautiful, thank you. Israel's just the Islamic State with better funding, says Where's Skill. You ever see writing candidates' names in results? I never have, DC. I don't know if that's because they don't count them or if it's because they never register enough support to be put in the, listing of the results. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I've not heard that.
I keep voting for Chappelle, and he's never in the final tally. So,
yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, folks, we got one more segment to do here before we head over to West Berlin. These are a couple of interviews on TalkTV in the UK, which went viral. Same interviewer here, Julia Hartley. We're going to play two of these. One is crazier than the next. And so the first one is from Dr. Mustafa Barghouti. Here is Julia Hartley. Man, this is actually the milder of the two.
You don't approve
And do you think that Israel is a democratic country?
I
Netanyahu
know
is
that
destroying
Israel is a democracy. They
democracy.
have elections.
No, this man is now has 4 courts against him because of 4 cases of corruption. This man knows if the war stops,
we haven't got time to do the entire history of Benjamin Netanyahu, who is not a popular figure in Israel. I'm not here to defend Benjamin Netanyahu. Mustafa, is it possible to...
Whenever I speak...
He's here to speak. You're the interviewer. I'm not here to defend Benjamin Netanyahu. It doesn't matter what you're here to do. You have a guest on the show, and you're obviously more interested in railroading him than you are giving him a chance to make his points because, as will be revealed very shortly, you know nothing of what you speak. Absolutely nothing.
This woman is really a blunt.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
Whenever I speak about Palestinian rights or Palestinian situation, you claim it is history. I'm talking about what's happening today.
No, I know, and
this is not history.
Can we just... You talked about how you don't want Israel. You're saying Israel that October the 7th happened. You're placing that in historical context. I understand that. Please don't say that again. We don't have time for it. You've made that point 5 times already.
I don't know what you have time for.
Oh my God! For the love of God, let me finish the sentence, man.
Oh my God!
Maybe you're not used to women talking. I don't know, but I'd like to finish a sentence.
Wow.
Anyway. So,
no, you are misleading the public now
really?
By claiming
right, I've got 20 seconds left. I'm not even going to bother trying to answer. If you don't think Israel's reaction is acceptable, what would have been an acceptable reaction to you? You've got 10 seconds left.
To end occupation and allow peace to prevail for both people.
That's their reaction. Brilliant. Yeah.
There you go. He did it in 4 seconds. He gave him 10 seconds. He gave you his answer.
No, and then she fucking slams him on the way out.
No, I know. I'll get you on the way out. But yeah, that's a perfectly legitimate answer.
Under pressure from a fucking psycho, who you just have to wonder who the fuck put this woman under contract to ask people questions about serious matters on TV. Why would you hire this fucking sick blunt? Why?
Absolutely unbelievable. And yes, she takes a swipe at him at the end.
Occupation and allow peace to prevail for both people.
That's their reaction. Brilliant. Yeah. Sorry to have, been a woman speaking to you, but there you are, Doctor.
Wow. Folks, that was the appetizer.
What did he say to even invite that? He was perfectly pleasant, polite, trying to maintain some composure with this fucking sick maniac screaming at him in a completely unprofessional way. I mean, I guess this is the same outfit that has Piers Morgan on, right?
Yes, and Piers.
So I guess they just want people who are going to do barking at the moon and creating moments that are clippable and viral.
Oh, it's tabloid. There's a tabloid.
It's tabloid, right?
But Piers, at least is an interviewer. He at least is an interviewer. This woman has no business on the air. I'm sorry. I mean, and that was just a taste, folks. This is the bigger one and the better one to demonstrate my point. So this is an interview with former Labour MP Chris Williamson. Here is a second piece of video. This is about 3 minutes. This is extraordinary.
think a ceasefire would benefit? Because the concern is, by those who are not calling for a ceasefire, including Keir Starmer and the Prime Minister of the Conservative government as well, is that actually a ceasefire only benefits Hamas, who can rearm, reorganise themselves, and then can continue their attacks on the Israeli civilian people. Do you think that actually a ceasefire will in any way benefit the ordinary people of Gaza, ordinary civilians, including children?
What an unbelievably stupid question. Do you believe a ceasefire would benefit the ordinary people of Gaza? You ask that question with a straight face after 20,000 plus civilians, most of whom women and children, have been killed. Again, I understand it's a tabloid outlet. I understand sensationalism is the point. In what universe does this woman have any business on the air? How can you ask a question like that? How can you ask a question like that? Let's hear his answer.
Well, they're being massacred on a daily basis, Julia, at the moment.
There you go.
So, of course, a ceasefire would be beneficial to the people living in
Why are they being
Gaza, which is,
massacred?
let's remember, is a concentration camp.
It's not a concentration camp.
Well, I'm sorry,
How
Julia.
dare
it's the
you use
largest
that phrase?
open-air
How
prison.
dare you?
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm
it
so
is
sorry.
an open-air prison.
Palestinians, are Palestinians working gas chambers in Gaza?
Julia, what is the definition of a concentration camp?
I'm just so appalled.
She does not know.
You seem like
She
a
does
normal
not
person.
know.
No, she pivots right off of that. She pivots right off of that.
Her job,
Unbelievable.
Her job is to just channel this outrage for people who like that kind of thing and for people who don't. Like, very clearly, they just want viral clips. Why else would you put such a sick blunt on the air except to create viral moments? Like, why? It's such a incredibly, stunningly ignorant person that you would ask, how would it benefit people who, I mean, this is something else we're going to have to cover this week on one show or the other. You know, the UN came out and said this is the greatest humanitarian crisis they've ever seen. What's brewing right now in Gaza? How would it benefit them?
How would it benefit
Sick of.
Seem like a normal person with normal values.
They have a fence around them.
And
They
yet
are
you
oppressed.
She should be
They are
sent to
daily-
Gaza.
They are regularly bombarded by the Israeli regime. What an absolute outrage. And how you can defend a regime which is behaving worse than Nazis, actually, in some
Worse
respect.
than Nazis.
It's
There we go.
Yes,
Worse than
absolutely.
Nazis.
Because what we
By
are
the numbers.
seeing, thousands of children have been murdered by this
Chris,
Israeli
why
regime.
don't we just
Over
save
4,000
time?
kids.
Why don't you just come on this show
where's
and just
your
shout,
humanity?
I hate Jewish people?
Children are being killed at a faster rate in Gaza than in the concentration camps.
Yes,
That's a
by the
fact.
numbers, they are worse than Nazis. By
Yes.
the numbers.
Yes, not in terms of gross body count yet, but in terms of their pace. Children being killed at a faster pace in Gaza than in the concentration camps.
And save everyone time.
What do you say about the Jewish people then that have joined the rallies in some
Yes,
marches in
there you
support
go.
of a ceasefire, in support of the Palestinian people? What do you say about them, Julia? Because
Nothing.
there are thousands of Jews who are utterly opposed.
There are
to the
thousands.
Okay, so she just called him an anti-Semite, and he said, well, then what do you have to say about the thousands of Jews who are protesting for a ceasefire? Notice what she did? She looked down at the table. She had nothing to say about that. She had to think of the next cheap point to make, and here it comes.
Tens of thousands of Jews in this country who are terrified about what is happening because of
Terrified of
people
what?
like you who are basically saying you support terrorist organizations that don't think that Israel or the Jewish people have a right to exist.
Okay, first of all, Jews, to the extent that we are terrified, it's actually because of people like you,
Yes.
Julia, and because
Yes.
of people like Benjamin Netanyahu who are killing 1,000 children a week. And when you say
Yes.
that to criticize Israel is to criticize Jews, it is you who endanger us, not
Yes.
Chris Williamson.
Because you are telling people, sane, rational people, which in spite of what you might have heard, I believe most people are, who can understand a horrific crime against humanity when they see one on a daily basis. And you telling people that that is synonymous with the Jewish identity and Jewish people does nothing but create anti-Semitism.
Exactly. Exactly. And here comes really, I think, the coup de grace.
this country who are terrified about what is happening because of
Terrified of
people
what?
like you who are basically saying you support terrorist organisations that don't think that Israel or the Jewish people have a right to exist.
The terrorist organisation is the Israeli regime. They are the terrorists.
They're a democratically elected government. They're a democratically elected government.
You know who else were democratically elected? The Nazi Party.
They were.
The Nazi Party.
They were.
And
They
you
were.
just said, you know, this whole issue of Nazis came up, right? Oh, you can't say that Gaza is a concentration camp. You can't compare what's happening to the Gazan people to what the Nazis did to the Jews. Are there gas chambers in Gaza? Therefore, your comparison's way off base. Israel, they're not a terrorist state. Their government is democratically elected. So was the Nazi government. How can you say that? How can you go on the air and say that? Piers, please talk to the bosses at the network. I understand you're trying to do a WWE version of the news, but this is extreme even for that. This is debasing even for that. You see the way she conducts interviews, the way she shouted over the last guest. This is one absolutely insane point after the other, starting with, would it benefit the people of Gaza to have to call for a ceasefire, and ending at, you can't call Israel terrorist because their government was democratically elected, while just a minute ago insisting that you couldn't compare Israel to the Nazis because there were no gas chambers in Gaza? Unbelievably ignorant, unbelievably unintelligent.
Well, there are also a lot of contradictions here, because you're saying that Netanyahu's not popular in Israel, but you're saying it's a democracy, and you're saying that the Jewish people are just defending themselves. These things don't go together. Okay, so if he's truly in power democratically, and the Israeli people must support him, he's popular enough to be in office. Why is he in office if he's so unpopular? And you're claiming it's a democracy. Okay, so this Netanyahu represents the Israelis. Now, if you're not defending Netanyahu, then you're not defending the people who put him in office. So what are you talking about?
Right. They say that the Palestinians deserve to be slaughtered because they elected Hamas. They elected Hamas with Israel's help. But I mean, like, nothing you say even makes sense on its own terms, and it's just unbelievably ignorant. I've never seen ignorance like this. This rivals like the Whoopi Goldberg saying the Holocaust wasn't about race. This is on that level. And
There's like if Michael Rappaport had a show.
It's like if Michael Rappaport had a show. Exactly.
They are not a prescribed terrorist organisation, which Hamas is.
Because the Palestinians living in Israel have not got a vote. So don't give me that nonsense about.
There are plenty of Arabs. No, if you're not an Israeli national, and there are plenty of Arab Israelis who are, you do have a vote in Israel.
Well, I'm sorry, Julia. You need to actually look that there are tens of thousands, if not millions, of Palestinians living in the area outside of Gaza, who do not have a vote. And indeed, it's an absolutely apartheid regime. There's no doubt about that.
It's an apartheid regime. It's not an apartheid regime. I mean, for goodness sake,
based on what?
Okay, let me. Apartheid regime. There is nothing you can.
Hold on a minute.
Just talk nonsense.
You just talk nonsense.
Okay, and once again, because not everyone will have heard this, and this is very important, because they often invoke this talking point, that it can't be an apartheid regime because they have Arabs who are citizens. Okay, those are people who managed to hold on through the Nakba and not get driven out. Those are those people and their descendants. Now, why do they allow them? For this reason, because they deploy them anytime they need to defend themselves against accusations that they're an apartheid regime. If you are Palestinian, you cannot get Israeli citizenship even by marriage. So this is this little population that they use to claim that they're not an apartheid regime. But if you are not among these people who managed to hold on in that region through the Nakba, and you are not Jewish, you are not getting citizenship in Israel.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just one thing after another. I mean, and you wonder why some people just cannot learn this issue. It's because of that. Like, thankfully, I think most people are starting to see through that. Most people are able to circumvent that and actually get real information online. But to the people for whom the TV is still the news, and there are still, sadly, a lot of people like that, if you watched that and got an understanding of this issue through interviews like that, you are just hopeless. And I mean, that is just, look, I'm not for canceling. I'm not for censorship. I'm not for any of that. But if you run a news organization, she's got no business on the air. She should be able to start a YouTube channel. She should be able to talk about her Instagram, Twitter. I'm not saying deplatform her, but I'm saying if you run a news channel, how can you have someone that ignorant on the air? How?
It's a disgrace.
She can come here. She can compete with us. All for that. Fine. Social media is all fair. But on a news TV network, somebody's actually going to hire you to espouse your opinions. A top-down structure actually puts someone like that on the air to do news interviews. Yeah, it's a disgrace. Absolutely a disgrace.
Well, just asking the question, how would a ceasefire benefit people who are being fucking slaughtered by the thousands weekly? That should be disqualified. That should get you fired, asking a question like that.
Right. Yeah. No, just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. John Moore, did you see the January 6th debate with Greenwald and Jones yesterday? Thoughts? I watched some of it. Thoughts? I didn't really watch enough of it to say too much. I know the Krasenstein brothers were on there. I've never seen them actually talk. Those are some weird dudes, man. Those Krasenstein brothers are odd. They are odd. It was Krasenstein brothers and Destiny versus Alex Jones. Greenwald was, I guess, on the Alex Jones side of it, and then there was the other guy whose name I forget. What I saw was entertaining. Obviously, I am of the belief that it was not an insurrection, so I was more sympathetic to the Jones side, but I didn't really watch enough of it to say more than that. But maybe we'll get into some of that on Tuesday. Thank you, John Moore. Oh, Jimmy Dore gave us a little $5 tip here. Says, you can't say hard anymore. See? Who told that to Dom Herrera?
Oh, we haven't gotten use out of that in a while.
We haven't, because it's so loud that people complain it's loud, but I turned the volume down on it so we can play it. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Jay Savage, Ford found on the road.
He's talking about one of the comics who performed last night.
Oh, Dom Herrera was at the thing last night? I know who Dom Herrera. I think I know who Dom Herrera is.
He performed last night. He was funny, actually. He was funny.
Yeah, he's pretty well known, right? I got the right guy. Yeah, I got the right guy. Yeah, Dom Herrera, wasn't Dom Herrera in The Big Lebowski? Didn't he have a walk-on role in that? I got a rash on my ass, right? That was that. He says, my wife tells me I got a rash on my ass that won't go away, something like that. Yeah.
There was a comic on. He says he's gonna be in like a gender swap San Francisco. You would know this comic. I forget his name.
Oh, okay.
Like CJ, no. I'll look it up.
Yeah, Dom Herrera, I knew. He's pretty funny. Ford, found on the road dead. Roll when park. Yeah, oxymoron. Yeah. Ford truck EV in 2022 was $70K. Wow. EV is too expensive. $70,000. Yeah, that's up there for sure. 007 Angelo, thanks for the $5. Ford found on the road dead. I'll give it to you backwards. Driver returns on foot. My mechanic said that to me when he saw my old car. Wow. Okay. Wow. Driver returns on foot. Thank you, 007. Tusker, thanks for the $5. Tried to look up Dobby Dobby pocketbooks. Can only find handmade purses with Harry Potter characters emblazoned on them.
Actually, how did they spell it? Yeah, it was the IE.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, I've looked it up. I found like the old advertisements for it. I found people who were selling them for collectors. My mother had a closet full of those, which I would love to have now because they were all these vintage, like 50s, 60s style purses.
Emoji, thanks for the $2. Need a remake of Life is Beautiful, but set in Gaza. Yeah, that's an amazing movie. Life is Beautiful is one of my favorite movies ever. Amazing movie. George Gunnell, thanks for the $10. Here's 10 smackers. Thanks, George. Hoping for union-made goodies on the merch pages of my favorite pro-labor YouTube channels. Love you guys. Thank you, George. Tusker, LOL, Karen TV. Yeah, that is Karen TV. Yes, for sure. Good one. Janice Anderson, thanks for the $4.99. Most states require candidate register for write-in votes to count, registration through petition and or fees. At least one state has a fee of $56,000. Damn. Yeah, well, that's insane. Wow, I didn't know that. So they make it pretty much like So in that case, because the write-in is a way around like raising money for ballot access and getting the team together for ballot access, but that's a way for them to basically make you raise the money anyway, right? If they're going to charge you $56,000 to get on as a write-in, that's amazing. Thank you for that. I did not know that. P, thanks for the £10. Fresh in my mind, growing up in the west of Scotland and watching the English government killing and humiliating the Irish, Scotland is still a bigoted and colonial enclave of Westminster. Thank you. Just want to recommend the documentary, Tusker, Roadmap to Apartheid, again, if anyone wants to debate whether or not Israel is an apartheid state. Yes, you have mentioned that before, Tusker. Thank you very much. SB, thanks for the $10. On Gaza, Israel lies are physically impossible. It's difficult to cut off body parts with a sword in combat with a knife. The claim it's near impossible unless Hamas are experts. It didn't happen. Well, like I said, just to get Russell ready for tomorrow, we cannot, deny that any violence happened. But I take your point. Go ahead.
I don't have time to do a deep dive, but you can see right at the top, 50s vintage handbag by Dobby's Bags. That was my family.
There you go. Beautiful. Oh, we should have had the we should have had the
schmata.
Yeah, the thing. I can't find it.
I see. I told you.
Indeed. There you go. Got to go in there.
That was on all their advertisements.
Right. Bob Shirazi.
Menachem's rap was on every radio station back in the day.
Yeah. Great show with my two live Jew crew, Julia Hartley, Brewer, Piers Morgan, Douglas Murray, James Whale, et al. Yeah, courtesy of Israeli intelligence asset and peerless horseshit peddler media mogul Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, that's some crew. I know they got Douglas Murray anchoring some segments there too now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
On that chat? Oh, yeah.
That's some lineup.
That tracks.
Yeah, that's some lineup they put together over there for sure. Meteor Dreams. Oops, sorry. Did you guys rush to get your Stanley Cups at Target? My wife told me about that yesterday. Not that she wants one, but she's like, man, this Stanley Cup trend is crazy. I'm like, what do you mean Stanley Cup trend? I'm thinking hockey. I'm thinking the hockey finals aren't on now, are they? She's like, no, it's this brand of cup that's like going for insane amounts of money. People are buying them and reselling them. So yeah, I heard about that from Amanda just yesterday, but I don't know much about them. And no, I did not storm my Target to get them yet, to answer your question. Folks, we are not done with the show. We have more show to go. We are doing more show at rumble.com/do dissidents. There was a great public report on the Epstein docs that we want to talk about, but we're not going to talk about that here. We're going to talk about that where we are free to talk about that without having to guess which rules we may or may not be breaking by talking about it. And tonight, we are doing our post-show Q&A, which is also on Rumble. So you're going to want to head over to rumble.com/do dissidents and continue the party with us. Head over there right now. That's rumble.com/do dissidents. Hey, Jake, first of all, round of applause for Jake for doing a great job tonight. How many people we got over there right now, Jake? What's our Rumble view count? I'll let everybody know so they know where all the cool kids are going. 1,632 in the Rumble chat right now, getting ready for some more Do Dissidents here on this Sunday. So yeah, we're not done. We got plenty more show to go. So we are going to head over there in just a moment, but we do want to thank you guys all very much for being here tonight. We appreciate you all very much. Jimmy, yes, I did read your super chat. Yes, indeed, I did read it. Why is it not showing up in the starred column right now? Did something happen? I don't know what happened. What did I do?
I didn't touch anything.
I touched something. But yes, Jimmy, I promise we did read it indeed. I was only going to buy a vintage Dobby purse if Ron Weasley was stitched on it.
You make a good point.
What happened to my super chat thing? It usually stars everything, and now it's not working. Oh well.
I see it.
I see the super chats at the top of the thing, but I don't see the star column where I can go back and read them again. Anyway, Jimmy, I promise I read your super chat, so don't worry. We got you covered. I think we did a good job with it, too. We even put a little sound effect.
You make a good point, Tusker. I could probably sue for copyright infringement.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sue them.
Depending on the Dobby.
Motherfuckers using the Dobby purse name.
Indeed. I don't know what the hell happened to the super chat column. It's supposed to star them automatically, and now that feature is gone. Anyway, I'll figure it out for the next time. Because on Rumble, we don't use that star column anyway, but that's where we're heading right now. So go to rumble.com/do-dissidents so we can continue the fun over there. There will be a 5-minute intermission to get everybody, all 1,426 of you on YouTube. There will be 5 minutes to get you all over to West Berlin on the Rumble side of the wall where we can speak freely and have fun. And then after our final segment, we will be doing a Q&A where patrons, paid Substack subscribers, and paid Locals members will have call-in access. Everybody else is welcome to stay and post questions in the chat and hang out. So, Jake, I'm going to cue the applause, and then you're going to take us over to Rumble World. That is happening right now. So we got plenty of show left to go. If you are calling it in, we will see you back here Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on our channel, and we'll be on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. But please come hang out with us over on Rumble. Most of you guys are already there. That's great to see. Everybody else, we will see you in about 5 minutes. Until we see you again in 5 minutes, be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.